ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Emo Energetics Radio. Listen for ways to improve your health, improve relationships, or improve your personal performance. Join us and discuss how to reduce or eliminate negative emotions through emotional freedom techniques. I'm your host, Todd Michael Kjelland, and welcome to the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for taking a moment out of your busy day to learn more about emotional freedom techniques, or what is commonly known as EFT. This video is to help you understand the basics of EFT so you can get started on your healing journey today. I teach EFT as the minister of Cadence Church Ministries. I use EFT in my ministry to help negate the negative energy that may be hindering you from living the life that you desire, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. I started Emo Energetics with the intention to help people heal themselves from such things as chronic pain or addiction, to helping one improve sports performance or ascend in their own spiritual growth. EFT has helped me personally by neutralizing negative emotions that were embedded in my subconscious as a result of injury, anger, divorce, rejection, and many more negative life experiences. Before we go any further, I must let you know that the information in this video is not to be considered professional medical advice, and that your use in the material is by your own choosing, and you accept responsibility for its use. I give you this information as a legally ordained minister and as a level 1 EFT practitioner, and not as a licensed medical professional. Please consult your personal physician in regards to the use of EFT. Now, surprisingly, EFT is one of the last things that people try, and usually only after conventional methods fail to give them the results that they're looking for. EFT should be the first method one chooses before spending thousands of dollars on medical bills and insurance premiums. EFT will help improve health, attract abundance, to be happier, to gain confidence, to have more energy, for better job performance. It can eliminate your fears and phobias, or reduce stress and anxiety. And who can benefit from EFT? Well, people with eating disorders, children's issues such as abuse, ADD, ADHD, addictions, allergies, fears and phobias, pain management, serious illnesses, panic and anxiety, corporate performance issues such as improved customer service or increase your professional sales. And also sports performance, whether it's golf, baseball, softball, basketball, or racing. EFT can help you achieve that higher level of competition. So what is EFT? Emotional Freedom Techniques is an emotional, needle-free version of acupuncture that is based on new discoveries regarding the connection between your body's subtle energies, your emotions, and your health. EFT uses a method of tapping on the body's meridian systems to loosen the negative emotions that may have been stuck so that the body can naturally heal itself. A blockage could be felt as pain, anxiety, depression, or an unhealing injury. So where do we start? Well, we start by looking at our body, because our body holds the truth, and we can find out through muscle testing or by trusting our intuition. You see, our physical body is directly connected to the energy system that runs throughout our bodies without the help of our ego, or what you might call your mind, and so your body knows the truth. The biggest thing that keeps us stuck in disease or dis-ease in our life is our thoughts. If we listened to our bodies in the first place, we would be much healthier beings. So why does our body betray us? Are our thoughts, are they congruent with your body truth? What really helps, or what really keeps you from achieving your goals? And you often wonder, why does my body do the opposite of what I want? It's because there's a disruption or an energy block in our body's natural energy meridian system. Think of your healthy body as a finely tuned harp. The strings on the harp are like the energy meridians in our bodies. These meridians and their meridian points are the same that are used in acupuncture. And when a negative memory or an emotion gets stuck, it's like a harp with a broken string. The rest of the instrument works, but when you pluck where the broken string was, or pluck a string that's out of tune, disharmony occurs. So where does this disruption in our energy system come from? Most of it comes from negative actions and comments, or words. Negative advertising, hurt emotional feelings, lack of support from a loved one or a mentor, false childhood perceptions, or physical or emotional trauma are just a few of the things. For a moment, let's take a look at the power of thought and words. Dr. Emoto conducted experiments in which he photographed water crystals as they formed. His experiments proved that water, when exposed to words, it had an effect on how they would crystallize. Words like love, joy, peace, God would produce beautiful symmetrical crystals, while words like hate, anger, war, or kill would create ugly mutated crystals, even if they form crystals at all. It is a fact that our bodies are made up of 60% water in males and 55% in females. So think about what constant exposure to negativity can do to your body. And on the contrary, what healing words can also do. Here's some examples from Dr. Emoto's work. Not only did Dr. Emoto expose water to written word, but also to spoken words, music, and art. And all the results are the same. Negative produced deformed crystals, positive created beautiful symmetrical crystals. EFT founder Gary Craig has an analogy in his study that's called the Palace of Possibilities. The analogy is called writing on our walls. Okay? He says to imagine that in your memory you have different rooms like an apartment or a house, and imagine that each of those rooms are an influence in your life. You have your friends, your family, your neighbors, your workplace, peers, TV, church. And as we go through life, our experiences get written on our walls in the corresponding rooms. And when we go through new experiences, we always walk into each corresponding room and consult what is on our walls. And we write all the good stuff in blue. A lot of good stuff. You look great. You're divine. You rock, dude. I'll come to your party. You can do it. Okay? A lot of good, positive things get written in blue on our walls. But what also happens is the negative stuff also gets written on our walls in big red letters over the blue. So if there's more negative than positive, you will only consult the big red memories and your body will react accordingly. So you can think one way with your ego or your mind, and your body will react another, the truth of the memories that are written on the walls. What EFT does is it starts to erase those red letters on your wall. So how do we fix ourselves? Okay? Typically, people start out with the typical ways for healing, surgery. It's a quick temporary fix and it doesn't address the underlying issues. Drugs, legal or illegal. It's a temporary fix to the problem and often addicting and leads to other serious issues. And this can be very costly in many ways. Hypnosis works great for some people, but not all. Psychotherapy. It's expensive and it takes a long time. We just got done looking at the power of words. In psychotherapy, they want you to talk about your problems, talk it out. Well, that takes a long time and it gets very expensive when you're paying by the hour. Some people just force themselves. They grin and bear it. They go through the pain and the agony of trying to heal. Some do nothing and they suffer. They just accept their suffering as part of life and they do nothing to try to get better. Now, EFT can help often when nothing else will. So what can EFT do for me? Well, let's find out. Let's begin by the EFT Discovery Statement, which says, the cause of all negative emotions is a disruption in the body's energy system. So that means a negative thought or memory triggers a disruption in the body's energy system, and we feel that or experience that as physical, psychological, or emotional pain. We do have to learn some terminology before we can get into the meat and potatoes of EFT. So we're going to start first with the sequence, or the basic recipe. This is also what we would call a round of EFT. Step 1, you want to identify the problem and measure its SUDS level from 0 to 10. Step 2, create the setup phrase. Step 3, you repeat the setup phrase and tap 3 times on the you repeat the setup phrase 3 times while you're tapping on the karate point. Step 4, you tap the different meridian points, which we'll get into here shortly. Step 5 is an optional procedure called the 9 gamut, and we'll go through that as well. Step 6, you want to tap on the meridian points again, and after you do it this time, you want to access your SUDS level and see if you've made any progress. And then you want to repeat if necessary. Okay? Psychological reversal. It's a phenomenon that happens when our progress is halted or stuck. It's a state of mind or a state of energy which will self-sabotage any attempt to get better. And it can be attempted by a secondary gain. A good example of this is if you're a smoker and you're trying to quit, but all your friends still smoke. And if you're out with them and they all go outside to have a smoke, and you no longer are participating in that, well, you start to develop a secondary gain that's stopping you from stopping smoking, if that makes sense. And so it's a secondary gain. If I keep smoking, I keep my friends. That's kind of what that means. It's present in around 40% of most issues and in around 95% of chronic health issues and addictions. It can be treated quickly and simply, although it will return unless the underlying causes are treated with EFT as well. And when we do the setup phrase and we're tapping on the karate chop point, that's actually taking care of the psychological reversal. And then you can use muscle testing to also determine if you're reversed. The apex effect. It's when a client has such a profound cognitive shift that they can no longer identify with their previous issue. For example, they have intense fear and then they move into sadness, but they don't notice. They just know that there's still an issue there until you ask them to describe what they're feeling. SUDS is simply the subjective units of distress or disease or discomfort. It depends on where you get your definition. But basically it's the scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no problem and 10 being the maximum. Aspects. This is the area where most people give up on EFT because they keep tapping on the same thing, when in fact what's holding them back is a different part of the negative issue that is now blocking. The best way to do this is to give an example. So suppose a client is exhibiting trauma symptoms from an auto accident 20 years ago. When asked what bothers them about the accident, they say, the headlights, I can see them coming at me. Well, EFT is applied to the headlight emotion, and then the client is asked if the accident still bothers them. And the client will say, yes. Well, unless you investigate further here, it would appear the client is making no progress and that EFT didn't work. If instead the client is asked, do the headlights still bother you? A typical response would be something like, no, but I can still hear the screams in the car. Well, that's what we call an aspect. It's a different aspect. So now it's the screams in the car that's bothering them, not the headlights. And once that is relieved, then you'll probably run into other aspects too, such as guilt is going too fast or anger at the other driver. And Gary Craig has come up with what he calls the movie technique to deal with these kind of memories and emotions. It's a way to recall specific issues and then deal or tap the different aspects as they come up. So what you want to do is you want to determine your scene, okay? What is it that you're trying to tap out? Step 2, describe in detail as if you're in the movie. Something like, I was walking along, minding my own business, and this car came out of nowhere, and you want to determine what is that aspect of the memory and what's the SUDS level of each individual aspect at a time. And you want to tap those out separately as you go through your movie or your memory. Okay? And when you're done and you have a 0 intensity, then basically that memory is diffused of the emotional response that normally it gives. Now here are a few examples of what EFT can be used for. And actually you will be amazed because it can be used for everything. We have our fears and phobias, addictions, including weight loss, emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, physical or emotional pain, including PTSD, headaches and migraines, musical performance. It can help you get over your stage fright and thus having a better musical performance. Allergies and sensitiveness, self-image, confidence, success and abundance. By using EFT on the limiting beliefs, then your success will increase and abundance will increase. Chronic illness such as MS or ME, arthritis, it can work on, or tinnitus, phantom pain, dyslexia. So who are some people that use EFT? Okay, energy psychologists, counselors, psychotherapists, hypnotherapists, NLP practitioners, doctors and nurses, naturopaths, life, business, and sports coaches, body workers, massage therapists, reflexologists. Non-professionals can use EFT. Mom and dad, grandma and grandpa. Also children. EFT is easy enough for children to memorize that they can actually use EFT to diffuse their anxiety if they're away from their parents, like at school or something like that. Okay, let's get into the procedure. Okay, we have what's called the setup phrase. And the setup phrase, again, is to do away with the psychological reversal. And so it's an acknowledgement of the problem and an acceptance of the self. And an example would be, even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now I usually put in the word love as well. So what I usually do is, even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay, you can change this phrase however best suits you, but what you have to do is acknowledge the problem and accept yourself. A lot of people have trouble accepting themselves or even saying the words, I love myself, because of the guilt that they may be feeling about a particular issue. So in that case, what you would do is just say, even though I have this problem, it's a possibility that I deeply and can completely love and accept myself. It's just a possibility, and that works just as well. The reminder phrase, this is the phrase that we use as we're actually tapping on the meridian points, and this helps maintain your focus on the issue being treated. This problem, that's all you have to say as you're tapping it out. And I'll give you an example here in a moment. The meridian points, we start at the top and just work our way down, and there isn't any specific reason why we do it in this sequence. It's just easier to memorize because you just start at the top of your body and go down. And so we start at the EB, which is the eyebrow, and then we go to the side of the eye, under the nose, under the lip, the collarbone. The SS is what's called the sore spot, and you can use the sore spot during psychological reversal or during the setup instead of the karate chop point. And either way, it works better for certain people, and others the karate chop usually works fine for most people. And then you go to under the arm, and it's not showed here on the picture, but in Gary Craig's basic recipe, it also tells about under the nipple area. And that one's usually skipped because it makes it uncomfortable for some people, and it's also tied into another meridian point that we tap on anyway. And then we go to the hand, and we have the outside of the thumb, the index finger, the middle finger. We skip the ring finger because that again is connected to another meridian point. And then we go to our little finger, and then the gamut point, And then the karate chop point is pretty self-explanatory. The 9 gamut procedure, this is that optional one that you do in between rounds. And I will teach it just so that you know it. It's not used very often, but sometimes if you really get stuck, it helps balance the left and right sides of the brain, and it helps balance the energy in your body so that the energy that you're trying to move out of the body can do so easier. Okay, you want to tap on the gamma point. That's that point between the knuckles of the pinky and ring fingers. You want to close your eyes, open your eyes, look hard down right, hard down left. Roll your eyes counterclockwise, then reverse. Hum a tune for 5 seconds. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hum a tune again for 5 seconds. And again, this is to balance the right and left sides of the brain. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to go through a round of tapping. And this is just kind of what is included in the whole thing. Okay, so you identify the problem and measure its intensity using the SUDS system. So you measure the intensity from 0 to 10, and then you create your setup and reminder phrases that are specific and accurately describes the problem. Okay, you repeat that setup phrase 3 times while tapping on the karate point. You repeat the reminder phrase while tapping on each of the points about 7 times. And there's all the points. Then you go through the 9 gamut procedure. Then you repeat the above sequence. You take a deep breath and you let go. And you check intensity level once again. And then you repeat if necessary. And I will give you an example here in just a moment. Okay? At the end, the ultimate goal is to get all the emotional responses on a SUDS level rated at 0, meaning there's no response. Sometimes it will get stuck at maybe a 1, and that just means that there's probably an aspect in there somewhere that's related to something that you're not working on right now. And eventually, if you keep chopping down away at all the negative memories, it will get cleared, and a lot of times these things are cleared without even knowing it. Some of the things that EFT does not do, it will not remove positive feelings. It does not erase your memory, so to speak. It does not remove common sense caution. Okay? It does not clear addictions just by masking the cravings. It actually gets to the root of the problem. It does not negate the lessons, reason, or truth of someone's experience. It doesn't change your experience or your memory. And it does not replace correct medical supervision. Now, you also want to think about some of the possible causes of the disruption. And we talked about the power of words, but also people's negative actions. It could be someone gives you a dirty look, and that could be enough to trigger an emotional response that gets stuck in your body. It could be negative childhood memories, or maybe a bully or something like that. Physical trauma. Physical trauma really gets stuck in our bodies if we don't eliminate the negative emotions associated with the injury. Embarrassment. Even just a little bit of embarrassment can set into our meridian system from childhood to adulthood. And we might not even know it's there. We just know we don't like doing something because you were embarrassed by it when you were younger. Hurt emotional feelings also get deep-rooted in our energy system. And then harassment by anybody. It could be bullies, it could be hecklers if you're a public performer. It could be a boss. It could be just anybody that feels like they have power over you could cause a disruption. Okay, we're going to try a round of EFT on breathing. And I'm going to pop in here. There I am. Okay. Okay, what we're going to do, before we really get into the actual rounds here, I'm gonna show you a few things, a few tips. When we do the tapping, you want to use 2 fingers. I think you can see it there. Okay. The reason we use 2 fingers is because it covers more surface area. So when you're doing your tapping, okay, when you're doing your tapping on your finger, it actually covers more area and you're better chance of hitting the meridian point than if you just did it with one. You can do it with either one, but here in the basic recipe I'm teaching you to use 2. Okay. Now let's kind of go through a little bit of what a round of EFT would look like as far as just doing it on breathing. Okay. First thing you want to do is take a slow deep breath and relax. Okay. After you take that breath, okay, this time you're going to repeat again, take another breath, but you want to notice if there's any restriction and then rate the depth and the ease of the breath on the scale of 0 to 10. Okay? Okay. I'm going to say mine's probably at a 4 at this point. And so what you want to do next is a round of EFT. Okay, so you start with your setup phrase. And while you do your setup phrase, you're going to tap on your karate chop point, or for some of you, if you prefer the sore spot, which I told you a little bit about. Basically down from your collarbone, and before you get to your breast area, there's the lymphatic node area right in here. And if you push just a little bit, you can feel a little sore spot in there. And you can use that and rub that during the setup phrase, and that will be sufficient. Some people get better results that way. If your psychological reversal is stuck, you can switch off and do it there. But we're going to do it on the karate chop point here. Okay. So a setup phrase for a round on breathing would be something like, even though I have this restricted breathing, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay, so you do that while you're tapping. We're going to do it 3 times. Even though I have this restricted breathing, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this restricted breathing, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And you want to be emphatic in this. Even though I have this restricted breathing, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. The more emphasis that you give, the more your body realizes that you're serious. Okay? Now we're going to go through the tapping on the meridian points. Okay? You want to start with the eyebrow. Okay? And while you're tapping, you just want to say the reminder phrase, which in this case would be restrictive breathing. Okay? And you want to go to the side of the eye, restricted breathing. Under the eye, restricted breathing. Under the nose, restricted breathing. Under the chin, it's actually under the lip, right in this area right here. It's under the lip and above the chin. And we just call it the under the lip. Okay, restricted breathing. And you want to go to your collarbone. And the collarbone, you want to make sure that you get right on the corner of the collarbone here. And I have my microphone here, so I'm going to have to move it a little bit. But right there, and you'll feel your whole body kind of shake with that one. Okay? And then from there you go under the arm. And when you go under the arm, I like to use a full open palm and here with the tips of my fingers, because that way it's more surface area and I'm going to make sure I hit it. Okay? And then you say the reminder phrase again, which would be restrictive breathing. Okay? And then you want to go to your hand. You want to start with the thumb. Okay? And it's basically right in this area. It would be the outside of your thumb. And it's right beside the fingernail. And that'll be the same on the other fingers as well. And so if you use 2 fingers, you're bound to hit it. Okay? And you want to say your reminder phrase, which again is restrictive breathing. Okay? Restrictive breathing. Restrictive breathing. Restrictive breathing. Then to the gamut point. Restrictive breathing. Back to the karate chop. restricted breathing. Okay? Now, we're going to go through that 9 gamut, and this looks kind of weird, and a lot of people don't like doing it because it does kind of look odd. And but like I said, it connects the right side and the left side of your brain, and that helps the energy flow a little more smoothly. And so what you want to do is you want to tap on the gamut point, or the 9 gamut. Okay, you just want to keep tapping on that. And then you're going to close your eyes, open your eyes, look hard down right, hard down left, counterclockwise around, go back the other way with your eyes. You want to hum a tune. Then you want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hum a tune again. Okay. Now, the tune, it can be any tune that you want. I just kind of use Happy Birthday because that's what Gary Craig used. You can hum whatever tune you want. It's basically the music side and the mathematical side of your brains are separate. And so that's why you first do the one side, then the other side. Okay? So after the 9 gamut, now we go back and we tap once again around in the meridian points with our reminder phrase. So we say restricted breathing, 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 restrictive breathing, restrictive breathing, restrictive breathing. Okay, that is one complete round of EFT. And at the end, you want to again take a breath. And then you want to get a suds level. So take another breath. I would say mine went down to at least a 1 on that. And so that is basically how a round of EFT works. And once you memorize the meridian points, it can take under a minute, under 60 seconds to do a round to help clear some of the issues. Now, some tips for some improved success. What we can do is be specific. I was telling you earlier that the more specific you are as far as describing the pain, relating to specific events or specific people, but be very specific. When you do your movie technique, try to describe everything. If there's a color that comes up, use the color. You can use the mood that you're in. You know, say, hey, I was walking down the street, I was feeling really sad, and all of a sudden this car comes out of nowhere and hits me, and you know, and because it could be that sadness in the beginning that what needs to be tapped on first. Say the setup and reminder phrases as though you mean them, and the words aren't as important as the meaning to you. And so use the words that you would normally use. And change the reminder phrase as needed to reflect on the change in the problem being worked on. So if you move from an aspect of anger to an aspect of sadness, make sure you change your reminder phrase to, you know, to the sadness part. And then say what you mean and be honest with yourself and with your emotions. So if you're feeling really ticked off at someone, don't hold back. Say that. Say, I'm really ticked off at my brother. Then that way your body knows exactly what you're trying to tap out. Some ideas for pain. Describe the pain as closely as you can. Is it a sharp pain? Is it a shooting pain? Or is it a dull ache? And the location, obviously. If it's in your left shoulder or your neck, use visual image again. A lot of times people say, I have this pain in my shoulder. It's like a throbbing red, you know, vein or something like that. Make sure you use those descriptions. And is there emotion behind the pain? You can think back, and how long has it been there? What were you going through at the time the pain started? Most of the time, it will be connected to an emotional issue, and if you tap on that emotional issue, the pain will go away. Fears. Again, when did they start? And do you know the cause? Do you have a fear of heights? Well, it could be that as a kid, your friend pushed you out of the tree. Well, you want to go back to that memory or that aspect of your fear and tap on that first. Then you want to visualize the problem through the movie technique. And you want to approach real fear slowly, because imagined fear and real fear is felt in the body the same way. Your body doesn't it doesn't determine the difference between imagined fear and real fear. On cravings, you want to focus on what it is that you're craving. It could be, let's say you have a craving of a piece of candy. Well, when you were a child and you skinned your knee, if your mother gave you a piece of candy to subdue the hurt, well, now when you go through pain as an adult, you get this craving for a piece of candy. And you want to feel where in the body the craving is felt. And that, an example there would be if you're a smoker and you're trying to quit, and all of a sudden, in your hand you feel that it's starting to get jittery, like it needs to hold the cigarette, then that feeling or that craving is felt in your hand. And a good place to start on EFT tapping would be the jitteriness of my hand, because that is what triggers your mind to say, I need a cigarette. Cravings are often associated with issues of loneliness, anxiety, emptiness, and deprivation. And so those are good places to start if you're trying to get rid of certain cravings or when dealing with addiction. Emotional issues. You want to focus on the source of the emotion. Who made you mad? When did they make you mad? Where were you when they made you mad? And why? You want to deal with each of those specific incidences separately as different aspects. And you want to use the movie technique once again and visualize that scene. And again, where in the body is it felt? A lot of people, they will feel emotional responses in different body parts, in their knee or in their elbow, or perhaps they get a throbbing on the side of their head. It's a very real thing to them, and you can start by tapping on those areas of the body. And again, use descriptive visualization, either color, texture, shape, location. Okay, let's go through a quick reminder. A complete round of EFT. You identify the problem and measure its intensity from 0 to 10. You create the setup and reminder phrase that is specific and accurately describes the problem. You repeat the setup phrase 3 times while tapping the karate chop point or by rubbing on the sore spot. You repeat the reminder phrase while tapping on each of the following points about 7 times each. You go through the 9 gamut procedure. And then you go through the tapping sequence once again. You take a deep breath and let go. You want to once again check your intensity level and then repeat if necessary. And you want to make sure that your emotional charge is gone and the intensity is rated at 0 or as low as it will go. And one thing that I forgot to mention earlier was if you have to repeat and try to go lower, you want to put the words remaining in front of your setup and your reminder phrase. And so it'd be something similar to, even though I have this remaining restricted breathing issue, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And then as you go through the tapping points, it would be the remaining issue. I think that makes sense, because what happens is if you tap on the same thing over and over and over, your body says, well, I've already done that. And so by putting the words remaining, it triggers your body to say, oh, you want to get rid of the rest of it. So that's why you would put the word remaining in there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. And for more information, or if you'd like to schedule a private EFT session, you can visit emoenergetics.com or emofreelife.com, or you can email me directly at emocoach@live.com. Again, my name is Pastor Todd, and I want to send you light and love from Emo Energetics Radio.